Hey folks, Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock Lake. It is Tuesday, July 11th. I've been on the water pretty much every day this past 7 days. Did miss one day because of weather, but other than that, pretty much been on either Table Rock or Taneycomo all week. Both are fishing great. Taneycomo's kind of amazing right now, how many fish we're catching, and some better fish as well. If you're thinking about trout fishing, I mean, it's a great time to go. There's a lot of fish being caught, catching a lot of trout right now, and we're catching a lot of bass. Bass are definitely moving. They've slowed the water flow down, so we've got some fish shallow. We have some fish starting to show up deep, so a couple of different ways to catch them right now. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 920.8 as of this morning. Core, when I looked, was running about half a unit. They have been kicking the generators up in the afternoon, usually around 3 or 4 o'clock to meet power demands. But for the most part, they are running 1 unit or half a unit pretty much 24/7. I know they are planning on shutting the dam down for at least a day, because they are going to try to remove some of the vehicles that were washed downstream at Fall Creek. So they've got some salvage operations to do. They don't want any current while that's going on, and they want to lower the lake level as low as possible to make it as easy as possible to pull those vehicles out of the water that got washed downstream during the floods and now are in Taneycomo and are navigational hazards. So I expect them to slow the water down these next couple of days once they get everything prepared to do that. As far as our water temperature is concerned, it really hasn't changed that much. Even though it's been really hot, we're still around that 81, 82 degree range. So not a big change in water temperature. We'll see some warmer water if you get up the James, up the Kings, up Long Creek. But really, you're around 80, 81, 82, usually in the morning. By the afternoon, it might warm up to 83 or 84. But really, for the most part, water's right around 80 degrees. As far as the fishing is concerned on Table Rock, it's been really good. We've had some really good success, both shallow and deep this past week. Let's say you're coming down, you want to fish the dam area. Basically have the same 2 bites going on that I've been telling you guys about for a while now. Still catching a lot of fish shallow on those gravel flats. Flatter the better. Gravel points, gravel flats, anywhere from about 8 feet out to about 15 to 20. It warms up, you might want to back up, or later in the day you might want to back up to about 25, but doing really well with the jewel net head. Caught a lot of fish on that this week. Doing well with the squirrel head, matched up with either a speed craw or a UV whisker beaver, or the Kitech crazy flapper. Caught quite a few in a crazy flapper last week as well. Doing well with the spider jig, same sort of deal, 7 to 15 feet deep, and doing well with the tube. The Bass Pro Tender Tube's been catching quite a few fish as well. Actually had one of the better days last week, caught most of the fish on a tube. They really didn't seem to want anything else. Had an east wind, I think it kind of slowed the bite down a little bit, but they still ate a tube really good. There are some deep fish down on the lower end as well. Most of them are going to be on those long gravel runouts though, guys, and they're not going to be as deep as you expect them to be. Most of the fish we're catching out there are 18 to 25 feet deep. They're not out there in that 30 to 40 foot range that we normally catch them in. So they've been a lot shallower. Drop shot rig's been my #1 bait, with a shad shaped worm, a dream shot, a UV worm. Any of that stuff has been working really, really well. Go to the Kimberling City area and same bites. It's where I am today. We specifically went out and tried to target deep fish early. They are a little bit more scattered in this area than they seem to be at the dam. We don't seem to find them as grouped up. But when we did find some, we'd catch 2 or 3 or 4, whereas at the dam area you tend to catch about 5 or 6 out of a group. But same sort of deal, 18, 20, 23, 24, 25. Really didn't catch a whole lot deeper than 25 foot deep. On the deep bite, drop shot rig, shad shaped worm, dream shot, UV worm, and Chomper's drop shot worm. Caught him on that this morning. Did pretty well this morning fishing deep. We specifically wanted to look at fishing deep. Had a guy with me who helped him set up his graphs. We got everything going and went out and caught a few doing that. Then we went shallow. Actually caught quite a few. We got a little bit of wind, so we caught quite a few on a spinnerbait this morning. One long fish, but it was pretty skinny. But there are fish up in the bushes here in the Kimberling City area. Catching them on a jig, catching them on a spinnerbait. War Eagle spinnerbait was working well. Jewel Pro spider jig's working well. Squirrel head's working well. You can still catch those fish out on those gravel runouts and points just like you can in the dam area. with the net head, with the squirrel head matched up with a speed craw, whisker beaver, crazy flapper, all those baits. Catch them on a tube down here as well. Bass Pro Tender tube, puke's been the best color. And again, most of those fish are from 6 or 7 feet deep out to about 15 foot deep. A little bit deeper once the sun comes up, you need to move out deeper. Go up into the James, and the James has got a really strong big worm bite going on right now. It's kind of about the only spot I've really been able to target fish with a big worm. Looking at brush piles, looking at the brush piles on those saddle areas where you've got the islands, and if you find those brush piles out there in about, well, they're about 15 to 16 foot deep right now. Normally they'd be about 12. Throwing a big worm, either a 10 or 12-inch worm, Texas rig, working it slowly through the brush piles, and most of your bites will come. You'll pull it over top of a limb, and as it's falling down into the brush, one will hit it. Make sure you're using heavy line. I use 20-pound fluorocarbon or braid, and you will have to wrestle those fish out, but we have been catching some better largemouth up there on a big worm, catching them flipping a jig too around boat docks and in those brush piles and on some of the more channel swing type banks. Been catching quite a few on a Jewel Pro spider jig. Okeechobee Blue's been a good color. Table Rock Secret's been a good color, matched up with a speed craw. Been my best bait up there. As far as numbers of fish, better fish, if you're looking, maybe you're fishing a tournament up there or something, if you want to catch 5 good bites, I would go throw a big worm and throw it in those brush piles up there, especially on those swing banks and on those saddles where the islands are. That seems to be where the better fish are, in the brush piles. Not just out there over nothing. They're in the brush. You can catch quite a few up there in the brush. White River just continues to be fun, catching a lot of fish on the Jewel net head. Just numbers, period. Just a lot of numbers. Some better fish mixed in too, but a lot of numbers. A lot of smallmouth, a lot of spots, the occasional largemouth. Again, anywhere from about 7 to about 15 foot deep early. As it warms up, back out, anywhere from about 10 to about 20, even 25 foot deep. Throwing the net head, throwing the Bass Pro Tender tube, throwing a squirrel head with either a speed craw or a whisker beaver on it or the crazy flapper on it. All those baits are working on the squirrel head. And then catching a few on a spider jig and even some on a football jig as well. Seems like the spider jig fish, we catch them when they move out deeper. Not necessarily when they're up there real shallow, but as you move out deeper, as the sun comes up, I seem to get a few more bites on a spider jig, Okeechobee Blue, Green Pumpkin Candy, Table Rock Secret, all those matched up with a speed craw, working well. And the same deal with a football jig, throwing the 3/8 ounce or half-ounce football jig, working it out a little deeper, as deep as 25 or 30 feet deep on that, and catching fish, dragging that on the bottom. Gravel runouts. You want to key on gravel right now, guys. I'm catching most of my fish, and most of the fish that are being caught right now are relating to gravel. I think once everything settles down, they'll get back out in those trees like we normally catch them in the summertime. But as long as they're running current, as long as the water's got color, key on gravel. Seems like that's where the best bite is. Guys, we are almost halfway through July, and it's hot. It's supposed to be hot all week, which I'm not a big fan of, but it is July, so we do expect it. But the fishing has been great, catching a lot of fish, both here and on Taneycomo. Had a lot of fun trips this past week, and you know, fishing's only going to get better. As the lake gets back to normal, we'll do a lot more deep fishing, a lot more drop shotting, spooning, that sort of thing. Hopefully our topwater bite will come back once the lake all settles down and we get some of this dirtier water off the surface, and fish will start chasing the topwater a little bit again. But the fishing has really been good. I missed the topwater bite, but doesn't mean we're not catching fish. But if you guys are coming down, July is pretty well booked up, but I do have a lot of open dates in August. And remember, about the second week of August is when the kids go back to school, so we start to get the lake back, and the boat traffic really starts to slow down that second week of August. Then we have Labor Day weekend, which is a nightmare. Then after that, we have the lake back to the fishermen. So if you guys are thinking about coming down, maybe want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Hit my website, focusfishing.com. Shoot me an email or book online. Either way, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, usually within 12 hours, sometimes a little bit longer, usually a little bit shorter. But get a hold of me if you guys want to go fishing. We'll go out, catch some fish, have a good time. You might even learn something, you never know. Guys, I appreciate you watching the videos. I really appreciate you subscribing. If you hadn't had a chance to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. That way you'll get the newest video as soon as it comes out. But thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.